The sharp pain from my mother's slap filled the quiet room. Colorful birthday decorations still hung in the air, a cruel reminder of what was supposed to be a happy day. My name is Sophia Bennett, and on my 25th birthday, my family made it clear how little they valued me. "How dare you?" my mother shouted, her face red with anger. "Your sister needs that money for her wedding. She found the perfect place in Italy, and you're hoarding your inheritance like a spoiled child." I pressed a hand to my stinging cheek and looked around. Some family members avoided my eyes, uncomfortable but silent. Others, like my sister Melanie and her fiancé James, smirked as if they'd won. My grandmother, the one who left me the money, wasn't there. She had passed away 6 months ago. "Mom," I said, forcing my voice to stay calm, "Grandma gave me that money for my bookstore, not for Melanie's fancy wedding." James stepped forward, his expensive watch shining under the lights. "Be reasonable, Sophia. Melanie's your only sister. Don't you want her to have the perfect wedding?" His fake concern made my skin crawl. James had come into our lives only 8 months ago, showering Melanie with gifts. Now they were rushing into a wedding that kept getting more expensive. "I'm not being unreasonable," I said. "Grandma wanted me to follow my dream. I'm not giving that up." My father, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. "Sophia, your sister's wedding is a big deal. Your little bookstore can wait." Little bookstore idea. That's all it was to them, no matter how much work I'd put into my plans. To my family, Melanie's wants would always come first. "No," I said, grabbing my purse, "I won't change my mind." Melanie burst into fake tears. "You're ruining everything. You've always been jealous of me, and now you won't even help." My heart pounded. What did they find? Mr. Thompson opened the file. "His real name isn't James Mitchell, it's James Mororo. He targets wealthy families, especially when there's inheritance money involved. He's been engaged 3 times in 5 years, each time to a woman who suddenly got money, then he disappears after taking their cash." The room spun. "So he's using Melanie to get to my inheritance?" "Exactly. Your grandmother suspected something was wrong. She wanted you to have this if James ever pressured you about the money." He slid the file to me. "There's more. He's being investigated for fraud in 2 states. I flipped through the pages, fake names, bank transfers, police reports from his past fiancés. My hands shook when I saw a photo of James with another woman last year, her engagement ring almost identical to Melanie's. "Does Melanie know?" Mr. Thompson shook his head. "No. Your grandmother wanted proof before telling anyone. She was trying to protect you both." Everything made sense now. James rushing the wedding, pushing for control of Melanie's money, even his sudden interest in my inheritance. "What do I do?" I asked, even though I knew it wouldn't be easy. "That's your choice," he said carefully, "but be careful. Men like James can get dangerous when they're cornered." I hugged the file to my chest. "Thank you, and thank Grandma for me." As I left, my phone buzzed, another text from Melanie. "You're so selfish. James says we'll take legal action if you don't give me what's mine. Don't make us do this the hard way." I stared at the message, my stomach twisting. Melanie had no idea she was being scammed. My parents were blind to it. And James? He had no clue my grandmother had seen right through him. I got in my car, gripping the steering wheel. The file on the seat held everything I needed to expose him, but I had to be smart. If I messed up, he might run with whatever money he'd already taken, or worse. For the first time since Grandma died, I felt strong, stronger than my family's betrayal. This wasn't just about my money anymore, it was about saving Melanie. I called Mr. Thompson back. "Can you come to an engagement dinner?" The next week was tense. I pretended nothing was wrong while my family kept sending angry texts. Meanwhile, Mr. Thompson and the investigators worked quietly. We learned James always waited until after the wedding, once he had legal access to his victims' accounts, before vanishing with their money. That's why he was pushing so hard for my inheritance now. I was at home, going over the evidence again, when Melanie called. "Finally decided to stop being a brat?" she snapped. I took a deep breath. "Let's talk." Dinner at my place, just us, Mom, Dad, and James. Silence. Then, suspiciously, "Really? Just like that?" "You're my sister." I lied. Maybe I was too stubborn. "Let's work it out." She agreed, but warned, this better not be a trick. As soon as she hung up, I called Mr. Thompson. "They're coming tomorrow. Is everything ready?" "Detective Morris will be nearby. We have enough to arrest him, but catching him in the act will make the case stronger." The next night, they arrived. Mom was icy, Dad looked uncomfortable, Meline clung to James, who smiled like he'd already won. Sophia, he said smoothly, this is unexpected. Family is family, I said, pouring wine. I watched as James eyed my apartment, probably calculating how much it was worth. Meline gushed about wedding plans while my parents sat stiffly. Then I set down my glass. I'd been thinking about the inheritance. Everyone went quiet. James leaned forward, barely hiding his excitement. Maybe we can work something out, I said, pulling out fake loan papers Mr. Thompson had prepared, a loan for the wedding. James's eyes lit up, just like we'd predicted. Con men can't resist easy money. That's very generous, he said, reaching for the papers. We'll sign right away. Mom teared up. I knew you'd do the right thing. Dad hesitated. Shouldn't a lawyer look at these first? Oh, mine is on his way, I said, checking my phone. In fact, a knock at the door. But it wasn't just Mr. Thompson. Detective Morris stood there, with Sarah, one of James's past victims. James turned pale. Hello, James Moraro, Sarah said coldly. Long time no see. Meline looked between. Mom collapsed in a dead faint. Dad just stood there, gaping like a fish. I watched as the cops hauled James away, with Sarah pointing at him and saying, that's him, that's the man who stole from me. Meline turned on me, her makeup streaked down her face. How could you? She screamed. You've ruined my life. Mr. Thompson stepped forward. Actually, your sister saved you. Would you like to see the proof? For the next hour, we showed them everything, photos of James with other women, police reports, bank records. Sarah told her story, how James had sweet-talked her into merging accounts after their wedding, then vanished with her money. Meline's anger melted into shock, then shame, then deep, gut-wrenching sobs. Mom, now awake, held her while she cried. Dad pulled me aside. Why didn't you just tell us? I met his eyes. Would you have believed me? You never have before. The silence that followed said everything. Mom looked up, tears in her eyes. Your grandmother knew, didn't she? That's why she left the money only to you. I nodded. She hired a PI before she died. She was trying to protect us. Meline wiped her face, her voice small. I'm sorry, Soph, for all of it. You warned me he was too perfect, too fast, and I just thought you were jealous. Dad sighed. We all owe you an apology. We haven't been fair. My throat tightened. I never wanted to hurt you, Meline. I just couldn't let him use you. The aftermath. The next few weeks were messy. The local paper ran the story. Con artist arrested in family dinner sting. Meline hid at our parents' house, too embarrassed to face people. I started dropping by with her favorite coffee and donuts. At first, things were awkward. Years of favoritism don't disappear overnight, but slowly, something changed. One night, Meline sat on her bed, hugging a pillow. I keep thinking about all the red flags I ignored, she mumbled, how he always talked about money, rushed everything. I was just so stupid. I handed her a tissue. He's a pro, Meline. You weren't the first, and if we hadn't stopped him, you wouldn't have been the last. She looked up, eyes red. How did Grandma see through him when none of us did? I smiled faintly. She used to say, if it seems too perfect, it usually is. Mom walked in with tea, her classic fix-everything move, but this time, it felt genuine. Your grandmother was smarter than all of us, she admitted. Then, hesitating, she added, when she told me she was leaving the inheritance only to you, I was furious, but she said, Helen, you've handed Meline everything, while Sophie fights for every scrap of love. It's time someone put her first. Mom started crying. She was right. I'd been blind. Sophia, can you ever forgive me? I couldn't hold back my tears anymore. Years of being the difficult daughter, the afterthought, it all spilled out. Mom and Meline held me while I cried. When we finally pulled ourselves together, Meline asked, so, what are you doing with the money now? I wiped my eyes. Signed the lease for my bookstore yesterday, the one downtown, near the old cafe. Mom actually remembered, the one with the big windows? Yeah, I'm calling it Second Chapter Books. Meline gave a real smile for the first time in weeks, because everyone deserves a fresh start. Exactly. Mom squeezed my hand. Your grandmother would be so proud, and so am I. A new beginning. 2 days later, I walked into the empty storefront, and found Mom and Meline already there, measuring windows and arguing over paint swatches. What are you doing? I asked. Mom held up a color sample. If you're opening in 3 months, we need to get moving. This blue would be perfect, cozy but elegant. Meline grinned. You didn't think we'd let you do this alone, did you? Besides, I need a distraction from my almost wedding of shame. I stared at them, the two people who'd always brushed off my dreams, now elbow-deep in renovation plans. A part of me wanted to doubt them, to protect myself. But then I heard Grandma's voice in my head, sometimes people surprise you. So I grabbed a paint sample and smiled. Alright, but if we're doing this, we're doing it right. We'd never worked together like this before. Mom's eye for design actually matched my practical side perfectly, and Meline's social media skills turned out to be perfect for marketing. As we painted shelves and argued over book displays, something amazing happened. The money James had tried to steal, the same inheritance that had torn us apart, was now stitching us back together. Grandma had known this might happen. Of course she had. I looked around the empty store, soon to be full of books and readers, with Mom and Meline laughing beside me. For the first time, I felt Grandma there, clear as day. Don't let them dim your light, she'd said, but now, they were helping it shine. Meline caught me smiling. What's that look for? Just thinking, sometimes the happy ending isn't what you expected. I shrugged. Sometimes it's better. She hugged me out of nowhere. I'm sorry it took nearly losing everything to see how amazing you are. Best sister ever. Mom joined the hug, squeezing us both. This was your grandmother's plan all along. You know, that inheritance? She knew what she was doing. I laughed, wiping my eyes. She always played the long game. Meline pulled back, mischief in her eyes. Speaking of games, that detective who arrested James? Really cute. Meline, Mom and I groaned in unison, but we were all grinning, standing in what would soon be my bookstore, wrapped up in the love I'd spent my life chasing. Thank you, Grandma, I thought. She hadn't just given me money, she'd given me a chance to show my family who I really was, and in return, she'd given us all a second chance. 6 months later, the grand opening of second chapter books was in 10 minutes. I stood outside, staring at the deep blue storefront, the cozy reading nooks visible through the windows, the smell of coffee drifting from the little cafe corner Mom had insisted on adding. It was perfect. Meline popped up beside me. Stop rearranging the display. It's fine. I just want everything to. It's perfect, Mom interrupted, adjusting the flowers by the register. Your grandmother would have loved it. We'd hung Grandma's portrait near the classics section, her favorite books displayed below. Sometimes, when the light hit just right, I swore she winked at me. Then Jake, Detective Morris, showed up, holding a wrapped package, for the newest business owner in town. Meline elbowed me as I took it. Inside was a first edition of Pride and Prejudice, Grandma's favorite. My throat tightened when I saw her handwriting inside. James had stolen it, Jake explained. I've been working to get it back to you. I hugged the book to my chest. Thank you. Mom cleared her throat. We have something for you too. Meline handed me an envelope. Inside were legal papers. She was investing her wedding fund into the bookstore, as a partner. I stared at her. You're sure? She grinned, more sure than I was about marrying a con artist. Mom chimed in, and I'm handling the cafe. I even took barista classes. I looked at them, the people who'd once dismissed my dreams, now all in. Grandma's voice whispered in my head, sometimes people just need a chance to surprise you. Well, I said, smiling, I guess second chapter books was always about fresh starts. The grand opening, the line stretched around the block. The local paper had dubbed us the bookstore that stopped a con man. But the real magic was in the little moments, Mom making flawless lattes, Meline charming customers, Jake casually helping little old ladies reach high shelves. That night, as we closed up, Meline found me by Grandma's portrait. You realize what this was, right? She said. Grandma didn't just save me from James, she saved all of us. I nodded. She'd known we were broken, she just gave us the right push to fix it. Speaking of fixing things, Mom called from the door. Jake's asking if you want dinner to celebrate. Meline shooed me away. Go, we've got this. Over dinner, Jake smiled. Most fraud cases end with families torn apart. Yours got stronger. I thought about that all the way home, how close we'd come to a different ending, but Grandma had seen the truth. And now? I had my family. I had my bookstore. And maybe, just maybe, the start of something new. I looked up at the stars and whispered, thanks, Grandma.